Breaking news out of the NFL where the Patriots have fired head coach Jerod Mayo.
Get mad at him when he can't win games with the same dudes you were losing games with previously.
Drake is going to be his own person, but I'm going to give him some things that I feel like are necessary to help us win football games.
This is by far one of the most exciting times for every team that didn't make it to the NFL playoffs. The NFL draft order is set, but a lot of head coaches have been canned as a result of underperforming throughout the regular season. And some of them are huge surprises, and some of them may have been a little premature. We're getting another free square from PrizePicks. All Will Howard needs is one passing yard in order for a square to hit, and recently I've been on a crazy hot streak, including this 2-leg to make me $90, this 4-leg to make me $320, and another 2-leg to make me $90. If you haven't signed up for PrizePicks, use my promo code Mikerophone to get $50 when you make a play of $5, and I'm gonna give you my play with the free square for free on my Instagram at @TheFlightMike or on Snapchat FlightMikeSnap. And thank you PrizePicks for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? This past Sunday, the Buffalo Bills faced off against the New England Patriots in a game that you can tell that the Patriots really didn't have much of a desire to win and no incentive to win. There was absolutely no way that the Patriots could make it into the NFL playoffs. And as a matter of fact, a huge part of their strategy was clearly to try to tank for the #1 overall pick in order for the Patriots to be able to potentially trade out of that #1 spot and get some additional draft picks. Like I said last offseason, and as evidence from this past season, the Patriots have a lot of holes in their roster that they need to fill, but it seems like the Patriots weren't able to even tank properly, as Joe Milton did his best Patrick Mahomes impression, completed 22 of 29 passes for 241 passing yards and a touchdown, and lost to Mitchell Trubisky and the Buffalo Bills. Now, I don't know if the Buffalo Bills did this on purpose to try to sabotage the New England Patriots, but obviously the Patriots weren't exactly happy with the fact that Milton and Kayshon Boutte had probably the games of their lifetime, as immediately following the game, it was announced that first-time head coach Jerod Mayo was fired. According to Adam Schefter, New England went 24 years with one head coach, Bill Belichick, but now moves on from his successor, Jerod Mayo, after just one season. The Patriots will be with their third coach in 3 years, as the Patriots fired head coach Jerod Mayo. You know who wasn't happy about this at all whatsoever? Rob Gronkowski. Look at his reaction to this all.
Jerod Mayo out after one season as the Patriots head coach.
I was shocked by that, and to happen that soon was a shocker to a lot of people, especially here at the desk. We were all surprised by that. I think it was unfair to Coach Jerod Mayo. I mean, he had never had the chance to develop in that department, and if you judge a coach by their first year, that's really not appropriate. Johnson, you went 1-15 your first year, and then you won a couple Super Bowls after that.
It was clear that the Patriots' win on Sunday had something to do with this, as Ian Rappaport mentioned that with the #1 pick in their hands heading into today, but also the job status of coach Jerod Mayo unsettled, the Patriots and backup QB Joe Milton play to win, and they do win, they'll draft #4. And it's really frustrating because Jerod Mayo finally won during a time that he just wasn't supposed to win, and people don't know if this is as a result of his victory or just the head coaching candidates that were available. The Patriots did release this statement. After the game today, I informed Jerod Mayo that he will not be returning as the head coach of the New England Patriots in 2025. For me personally, this was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. I've known Jerod for 17 years. He earned my respect and admiration as a rookie in 2008, and throughout his career for his play on the field, his leadership in the locker room, and the way he conducted himself in our community. When he joined our coaching staff, his leadership was even more evident, as I saw how the players responded to him. When other teams started requesting to interview him, I feared I would lose him and committed to making him our next head coach. Winning our season opener on the road at Cincinnati only strengthened my convictions. Unfortunately, the trajectory of our team's performances throughout the season did not ascend as I had hoped. Since buying the team, I have always considered myself and my family as custodians of a public asset. We have tremendous fans who expect and deserve a better product than we have delivered in recent years. I apologize for that. I have given much thought and consideration consideration as to what actions I can take to expedite our return to championship contention and determined this move was the best option at this time. I am grateful for Gerard's many contributions to the New England Patriots throughout his career and will always be rooting for his success. I appreciate all of his hard work and hope the experiences gained will help him in the future, and I still believe that he will be a successful head coach in this league. I wish Gerard and his family nothing but success in the future. Immediately, my first thought is there is no head coach that would be able to succeed with this iteration of the New England Patriots. The only thing that this team has going for itself is the fact that they hit on their quarterback. Drake May clearly looks like the real deal, and there needs to be a sense of urgency to build around him quickly so they don't waste his talents or just completely destroy him just as they did with Mac Jones a few years ago. Bill Belichick wasn't able to succeed with this iteration of the Patriots minus Drake May. I don't know what they were expecting from Gerard Mayo. Personally, I think there's something deeper going on here because the front office is currently supposed to stay the way it is. As Ian Rappaport mentioned that this firing only affects Gerard Mayo, the front office remains intact for now, but a huge factor in this decision probably had to do with Mike Vrabel. For those of you guys that don't know, Mike Vrabel had a very successful head coaching interview with the New England Patriots division rival, the New York Jets. Vrabel is probably the most enticing head coaching candidate available this offseason. And when you consider the fact that there are a lot of former head coaches that have tremendous head coaching experience that came and started coaching for new teams and experienced tremendous success, like Jim Harbaugh and the LA Chargers or Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos weren't supposed to be this good, but Sean Payton has rebounded with this team just a season after moving on from Russell Wilson and taking a huge dead cap hit with Bo Nix as his starting QB. The fact that this has been the trend and former head coaches have had this much success has catapulted Mike Vrabel to the forefront of head coaching candidates. And considering the fact that he's a New England Patriots legend and he's kind of from the Bill Belichick coaching tree, he was never a direct assistant from Bill Belichick, but he played for him and is probably the most successful Belichick disciple, makes him a huge frontrunner to potentially get the gig. And Ian Rappaport even mentioned that the name Mike Vrabel very quickly comes to the forefront. Now, unlike last year, the New England Patriots head coaching gig is very, very attractive, primarily because the Patriots are projected to have over $130 million in cap space this offseason. They have a franchise quarterback in Drake May that is on a rookie scale contract and a top 4 pick in the 2025 NFL draft. And there's a lot of head coaches that are potentially interested in this position. This was originally meant to be a standalone video in regards to Gerard Mayo's firing. Unfortunately, my internet went to crap when I was in Tulum, so I was not able to finish off the video. Very frustrating, but of course, there's a lot more to this story to cover. Fans had a myriad of different theories as to why Mayo was fired, and a lot of it had to do with culture setting. There's this one story about him playing cards on a team flight back home instead of studying film following a loss, but I don't necessarily think it has much to do with any of that, primarily because any fan and any owner would understand that Gerard Mayo from the very beginning was placed in a situation where he was doomed from the get-go. I mean, I said it multiple times going into this season, there's no team in the NFL that had a worse roster this year than the New England Patriots. They have Christian Gonzalez on defense, Ramondre Stevenson on offense. Drake May was a question mark going into the season, and I eviscerated the Patriots for not trading the number 3 overall pick last year for multiple first-round picks this year and staying pat with Mac Jones, primarily because they had so many holes on their offense that they should have addressed those holes first and then drafted their quarterback later. Fortunately, Drake May seems to be a stud, and they have the most cap space in the NFL going into this offseason. However, I don't think the firing of Gerard Mayo had anything to do with how terrible his first season was, because you don't need to be a genius to understand that no head coach was going to be able to succeed in these circumstances. It was the fact that the Patriots knew that they needed a change in their culture, and an opportunity presented itself to potentially get the fans very, very excited about their future. And it was the fact that they had the opportunity to hire another Belichick disciple. And that's exactly what happened. The New England Patriots would officially hire Mike Vrabel as their new head coach, and I personally think this is a perfect hire. Mike Vrabel didn't necessarily coach directly underneath Bill Belichick, rather he played for Bill Belichick, but there's no question about it, he is easily the most successful coach to come from the Bill Belichick tree, even though he technically didn't coach underneath Bill Belichick. The thing is, even if Mike Vrabel had this team last year, he would not have succeeded. But historically, Vrabel has shown us that if you give him a solid quarterback and you give him a solid offense, then he would have the potential of taking you into the playoffs. I mean, in 2019, he was able to take a 9-7 Tennessee Titans team all the way to the AFC Championship game, where they would lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. They would then lose to the Ravens in the wild card game the year after, and then the Bengals in the divisional game the year after, before deciding to trade AJ Brown for whatever reason, and then everything went to shit from there. And bear in mind, he was able to get this all done with a journeyman quarterback that had a resurgence in his career. He was able to do this with Ryan Tannehill, and don't get me wrong, he had Derrick Henry and AJ Brown, but he's proven that if you give him a solid roster, then he will be able to deliver results. He's still relatively young for a head coach as well, 49 years old. But above all else, the stuff that he is saying in these press conferences, compared to how Jerod Mayo handled press conferences last year, is just electric. I mean, listen to his intro press conference.
My involvement will be trying to develop him as a leader of the offense, and when a quarterback, when they call the play, like, you want to say like everybody's going to believe that it's going to score a touchdown. That type of emphasis on how everything is going to operate. Drake is going to be his own person, but I'm going to give him some things that I feel like are necessary to help us win football games. We have to be a very efficient passing football team.
The whole theme of this press conference was Drake May, because historically we've seen this happen so many times. You have this great stud quarterback prospect, you have a bunch of cap space, and you don't necessarily build around him the right way. Prime example of this is the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. For some reason, they decided to go out and pursue a bunch of C-tier wide receivers, draft another halfback, and hire Urban Meyer, and then eventually Doug Peterson, and then hope that Trevor Lawrence would become that transcendent quarterback that he once was projected to be. In this case, Mike Vrabel understands his circumstances, and he understands what's at stake. Probably the most exciting thing he had to say in this press conference had to do with Drake May. But outside of the press conference, the stuff that he's saying in regards to Drake May is even more exciting.
And there's arm talent, there's ability, there's athleticism, there's toughness. Continue to make great decisions, where at times maybe he felt like he had to do too much. We would never want that on a player, right? We want to be aggressive, we don't want to be reckless. And we talked about the efficiency in which we have to play that position. And there's a lot of contributing factors, that go into that. And having players around that have great catch radius, that are good at versus contested catches in the red zone, that are tough tackles, that take short passes and turn them into explosive gains, so that you're not just forcing the ball down the field. We're going to do that, and that's going to be in our offense. So providing answers and support for him to continue to grow, give him as much as we feel like he can handle or that he can bet back to us, and then we'll see where that happens, and I'm sure that growth will be pretty quick.
To hear that your head coach understands that he has a stud at the quarterback position and they need to find him weapons quickly, you don't want a repeat of what happened with Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. You want Drake May to go into year 2 in a similar situation as CJ Stroud did go into year 2. Yeah, the trade for Stephon Diggs didn't necessarily pan out, but we've talked about this before ad nauseum, especially if a team has significant amounts of cap space. Historically, when you're a team with a quarterback on a rookie scale contract and a ton of cap space, and that quarterback shows even the slightest bit of potential, you will go out and trade for a top 5 or top 10 wide receiver. Except if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, then you pay Christian Kirk a bunch of money. But in this particular instance, there are a lot of good wide receivers that you can have for below market contracts. I mean, you could trade for Devontae Adams, although I don't necessarily know how willing the Jets would be to trade Devontae Adams to a division rival. You could trade for Tyreek Hill, although I don't necessarily know if Tyreek Hill would be happier on the Patriots as opposed to the Dolphins. You could trade for Keenan Allen, but probably the best target that the Patriots could go after would be T. Higgins. Now, believe it or not, despite all of these stud wide receivers that could potentially be traded for, it seems like the number one wide receiver Mike Vrabel wants to team up with is his top wide receiver from the past. As on the Greg Hill show, he discussed his ability to potentially get AJ Brown on the New England Patriots.
I'm proud of his development, his personal development, and working on himself and working on getting back to center. And again, he's a passionate player, and I love him to death, and I have a very, very close relationship with him.
Now, Vrabel's ability to do this has a lot to do with how frustrated AJ Brown truly was with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I guess that's something we're gonna have to wait until the offseason to find out, because there have been moments throughout this past year where AJ Brown seemed genuinely pissed off with his role in the offense. It's almost as if he's mad that Saquon Barkley takes a load off of his shoulders, which I don't understand why he'd be frustrated about that, considering the fact that he just signed a contract extension in the 2024 offseason. But if he's truly that upset about his role on the Eagles offense, then truly this is going to be an attractive option for him. Personally, I'm expecting the Patriots to make make a huge offer to T. Higgins, probably the easiest player to get. If they really want to double down on a better wide receiver core, Chris Godwin's also available. Amari Cooper is a free agent in the offseason. They have plenty of cap space to work with and a high draft pick. It seems like Bill Belichick is very happy with this decision as well.
Yeah, I think Mike's done a great job. Certainly his entry into coaching was no surprise. You know, I talked to him when he was at Ohio State, and then when he went to the Texans, and then of course at Tennessee, and we practiced against them, and stayed in pretty close contact with Mike. So I have a ton of respect for Mike. I think he does a great job. He pairs his teams well. They're very good in situational football. They're tough. They're competitive. They're smart, just like he was as a player. I think the teams that he's coached and the position he's coached follow very much in his playing style and in his preparation styles. I love Mike. I love everything that he stands for as a football coach, and I have a lot of respect for him. I'm sure he'll do a great job.
If I'm a New England Patriots fan, I'd be very excited because it seems like Mike Vrabel understands the strategy that is necessary for success around a once-in-a-generation type quarterback that has the potential to be a Pro Bowler. Let me know in the comment section down below if you're a Patriots fan. How do you feel about this hiring? Do you think Mayo was unfairly fired? Do you think the Patriots should have given him another chance? Or do you think this was simply a situation that they couldn't pass up? I'd like to hear what you have to say. I don't know if you heard, but Sam Darnold may have sabotaged his career. We made a completely separate video on that, and I'll leave it in the end screen. Cowboys are also moving on from Mike McCarthy. I'll leave that in the end screen as well, and meet you guys there. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.